Okay, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. أيها الإخوة السلام عليكم ورحمة الله ونسأل الله تعالى أن يتقبل منا ويغفر لنا ذنوبنا ويكفر عنا سيئاتنا نسأله بعلم نافع ورزق واسع عملا صالحا متقبلا وعليه نتوكل وإليه المصير ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Praise be to Allah. We begin always by praising Him, sending peace and blessings on His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And after greeting you, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, to accept from us our efforts, to increase us in knowledge and understanding of Deen, to give us wide sustenance. We utterly depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Him is our goal. We carry on with our tashrih and or explanation or exegesis as it is of the 40 Hadith of Imam Nawawi, and we begin with Hadith number 7 today. Imam Nawawi mentions in his collection, he says, عن أبي رقية تميم بن عوس الداري رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الدين النصيحة الدين النصيحة أو الدين النصيحة قلنا لمن قال صلى الله عليه وسلم لله ولكتابه ولرسوله ولأئمة المسلمين وعامتهم. Rawahu Muslim. This hadith, which is reported by Tamim ad-Dari, one of the companions obviously of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the Messenger of Allah said that deen or religion, more comprehensive term than that, but we'll leave it at that at the moment, is nasiha, sincerity. We said, Tamim saying, we said to who? And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, to Allah, to His book, to His messenger, to the leaders of the Muslims, and to the Muslim common folk. And it is reported by Imam Muslim in his Sahih Muslim. This hadith is from Tamim ad-Dari, is also to be found in Abu Dawud and An-Nasa'i's collection, in the Sunan of Abu Dawud and Nasa'i, and it is also found in Tirmidhi. The difference in Tirmidhi is a word that's different. When the Prophet ﷺ asked sincerity to whom, in this version I've told you in Sahih Muslim, Abu Dawud and Nasa'i, it mentions to Allah sincerity, to the book, to His messenger, to the leaders of the Muslims, and to the common folk. In the one in Tirmidhi, which is reported from Abu Huraira, another companion, it doesn't mention Wali Rasuli, the messenger, sincerity to the messenger. Makes no difference, as I've said to you before, all are authentic. Sometimes a reporter will miss a word, others will add a word, so it gives the same meaning. There's no problem with that in regards to the hadith. And Imam Tirmidhi says hadith Hasan Sahih, and we accept that it is an authentic hadith from Imam Tirmidhi, is judgment. And Nasa'i also reports a hadith from Abu Huraira, the same hadith. Instead of saying ad-deen al-nasiha, it says inna ad-deen al-nasiha. And he mentions it, that the Prophet ﷺ says it 3 times to stress on it. Yeah? So he says inna ad-deen al-nasiha, inna ad-deen al-nasihatu, inna ad-deen al-nasihatu. And then he mentions after they say to who, sincerity to who. So this is in regards to the hadith itself. Tamim ad-Dari, we don't have much information about him except that he embraced Islam more in later on, in the 9th year of Hijrah, so only a few years before the Prophet ﷺ left the world. And he passed away 40 years after Hijrah, okay, in the 40th year after Hijrah. Imam Nawawi says that this is the only hadith reported by Tamim ad-Dari, okay, and when you see that, it can be confusing, and then other ulama said this is the only hadith reported. Ibn Rajab says, for example, this is the only hadith reported in Sahih Muslim from Tamim ad-Dari, which is more accurate. But if you look at Imam Nawawi's comment, you get the impression that this is the only hadith Tamim ad-Dari reports. It's not true. He reports other hadith as well, but in other compilations. Actually, in Sahih Muslim as well, Tamim ad-Dari is one of the only few companions that the Prophet ﷺ reports from him in a hadith which is in Sahih Muslim. So in the chain it goes back to the Prophet ﷺ that he said, and we normally have the hadith, don't we? So in this one it says that Tamim is saying, Prophet ﷺ saying openly to the rest of the Sahaba, Tamim said, which is interesting, isn't it? Because the chain normally goes back to the Prophet ﷺ hadith, and then to Allah if it's hadith Qudsi. In this chain, which is hadith in Sahih Muslim, it says the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that Tamim is saying. Okay, so really, in that regard, it is not hadith, because the Prophet it's not the qawl of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's not a doing of the Prophet ﷺ. He's just reporting what Tamim is saying. And this is a famous hadith in which it's a long hadith about Tamim going with some of his people from his tribe. They went on an ocean journey, and their ship basically with a storm sank, and they went on planks of wood, and it carried them to an island where they were basically marooned on an island for some time. And he's explaining, Tamim, Prophet saying, Tamim said this is what happened to them at blah blah blah, etc. It's a long hadith, in which is the mention of Dajjal as well, according to the claims of Tamim that he saw Dajjal there. Prophet doesn't confirm anything. He's saying this is what Tamim is saying that happened to them. Anyway, that's just for showing you where Tamim comes in hadith. But he's involved in other hadith, in compiling Ibn Majah and other in the Sunan, etc. Some are authentic to him, some are not authentic. Okay. Now, when we come to this particular hadith, remember that this is one of the hadith that is mentioned by Abu Dawud, and I mentioned this in few of these. They're all at the beginning, really. Remember, the last hadith we did, that إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين, that the halal is being made clear, the haram is being made clear. That was hadith, one of the hadith, which Abu Dawud said that there are 4 hadith, or some mention 5, around which the whole of Islam revolves. Right? And this is one of them. And the last one was one of them as well. Yeah, and this is one of them. Because it's very short, but it's so comprehensive. Yeah, so comprehensive. And that's why, similar to him, other fuqaha and ulama then said that this hadith covers a quarter of the whole of the religion of Islam. A quarter of the whole of religion of Islam. Meaning from the 4 hadith around which all of Islam revolves, this is one of them, so you can see why they say a quarter. Okay? Now, why they say that, you can see from when we actually come to decipher it, why they come to say that, and why Imam Nawawi includes it in his Arba'in, and at the beginning as well. Yeah. So if we look at the meaning then, and we look at little by little, it begins by saying ad-deenun nasihatu. Ad-deen here, to understand, let's link it with the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam when he came. And remember, in that long hadith, the questions were, tell me about Islam, tell me about Iman, and tell me about Ihsan. Right? At the end of that hadith, what did the Prophet ﷺ say? Do you know who the questioner was? Yeah, they said, Allahu wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Said, Innahu Jibreel, Ataakum yu'allimukum deenakum. He came to teach you your deen. So if we want to know what deen is, there it is already in the hadith we've already covered. Yeah? Islam, its pillars, Iman, what it covers, and Ihsan as well. Yeah, Ihsan. Which was also explained. To worship Allah as though you see Him, though you see Him not, truly He sees you. Yeah. So that's the deen that the Prophet ﷺ talking about. When he says ad-deenun nasiha, or inna ad-deenun nasiha, inna ad-deenan nasihatu, that surely the deen, meaning Islam and Iman, all those things, that it is nasiha, it is sincerity. Now, you could get the impression from that, one equals the other, that deen is only about sincerity and that's it, full stop, finished. Alaikum assalam. But you know that when you say a statement like that, that it is trying to point out that a key factor for deen, for the religion of Islam as it were, is sincerity. It doesn't mean there's nothing else to this deen except this. You understand me? Yeah. It's like the Prophet ﷺ saying, Al-Hajju Arafah. Al-Hajju Arafah. That the Hajj is Arafah. Now, nobody understood from that the only thing about Hajj is Arafah. But everybody understood from that, right, despite difference of opinion, that the very pillar of the Hajj is Arafah. You miss Arafah, you miss the Hajj. That's what it meant. Al-Hajju Arafah. So here, ad-deenun nasiha. That deen is sincerity. So if you miss the sincerity, you miss the whole point of the deen. Same idea. Okay? But there's more to Hajj than just Arafah. So there's more to the deen than just sincerity. Same way. Okay? But it's to point out how important this issue is in Deen of Islam. And hence, ad-deenun nasiha. Hence he repeats it 3 times in the version, not here, not this version in Muslim, but in the version in, as I already said to you, the version of the hadith which is in An-Nasa'i from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, he repeats that 3 times. Yeah, stressing the importance of nasiha in deen. So what is nasiha? Ulama of language, ulama who did tashrih of this hadith, whether it's Nawawi or whether it's Ibn Rajab or whether it's At-Tufi and others, they quote other scholars as well in the same way. For example, Al-Khattabi, who did a sharh, who did a deep analysis explanation of Bukhari, Fathul Bari it's called as well. Just like Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani did Fathul Bari as well, of Sahih Bukhari, meaning that they took each hadith and gave a deep explanation of it. Al-Khattabi said, An-Nasiha is when somebody sincerely intends good for another. They want to do good for another person. In that is the sincerity involved with it. Yeah. So it could be giving advice, it could be, that's what also nasiha means. Nasiha can mean advice, but nasiha, what's really behind nasiha is advice with sincerity. Because people can give advice not sincerely as well, can they not? So the key of nasiha, even if we use it for giving advice, the key is the aspect of sincere advice. Yeah. Sincere. So, as some ulama said, that they used to say, nasahtu al-asl. I am purifying the honey. And they use the word nasiha, nasahtu, the same root word, to purify. Yeah? So the purification is linked with sincerity. Somebody with a pure heart is giving nasiha. The nasih is the one who gives advice or is sincere in what they're doing towards the other. Yeah? So it doesn't have to lead to advice. It can be just used in the sense of sincerity towards the other. Because in the end, when you come to Allah, you don't give advice to Allah or His Messenger. But it means sincerity. That aspect of it is the key aspect of nasiha. Yeah? So nasih is the one who's sincere, and mansuh is the one you're being sincere to. Yeah? From the same root. And this idea of sincerity and using this word nasaha, yansahu, is in the Quran as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah At-Tahrim, for example, He says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا توبوا إلى الله توبة نصوحا. Nasuha from nasaha. O you who believe, do tawbah, turn to Allah with a tawbah that is sincere, for it to be accepted. Tawbatan nasuha. عسى ربكم أن يكفر عنكم سيئاتكم ويدخلكم جنات. عسى, perhaps your Lord will blot out and clear away your sins. يكفر عنكم سيئاتكم. Blot away, clear away your sins, and enter ويدخلكم جنات, and enter you into gardens, into paradise. Asa, as I mentioned this before in lessons, asa, when it's used with Allah, doesn't mean perhaps, it means for sure. Asa, when it's used for us in language, it means perhaps. But when Allah uses it, yeah, as Mufassirun and of the Quran say, that it means certainty from Allah. So there's no perhaps from Allah. But it's used in that sense, asa, that in other words, if you are sincere, then expect Allah that He will forgive you. Yeah. The onus is on us. So when asa is used from Allah, the onus is on us. Are we really sincere in our tawbah? That's the question. Yeah. So it's posed on us. And in fact, the same idea is used in regards to for example, when messengers of Allah are sent as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for Nuh alayhi salam, for example, He says in the Quran, أُبَلِّغْكُمْ رِسَالَاتِ رَبِّي وَأَنَا لَكُمْ نَاصِحٌ أَمِينٌ. I am transmitting to you, yeah, passing on to you the messages from my Lord, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm passing the messages that Allah has sent, my Lord has sent me, I'm passing them on to you. وَأَنَا لَكُمْ نَاصِحٌ أَمِينٌ. And I am towards you a sincere and trustworthy person. Nasihun. Nasaha again. Sincere person who is trustworthy. Yeah. So I'm doing it out of sincerity. And all messengers came, didn't they, for that? Yeah. That's why you see them not only in this ayah mentioning it directly, but the way they dealt with their people, saying, Ya qawmi, And to the people of Ad we sent their brethren, and the people of Thamud we sent their brother, who said, Ya qawmi, O my people, I don't want anything from you in return, no favors. I'm not asking for money from you. This is an indication of the sincerity. So the word is used in that sense as well in the Quran to show the meaning of this word, ad-dinun nasiha. Now, if we look at further, then Tamim ad-Dari, he says, we said to the Messenger of Allah, Sahaba now asking, sincerity to whom, Ya Rasulullah? So now the Prophet ﷺ answers, and you'll see how comprehensive then this becomes. So he said, first thing he said, Lillah, nasiha, to Allah, sincerity to Allah, sincerity to Allah. Here, why sincerity normally comes for human beings, we give sincere advice to benefit them. Here, when we come sincerity to Allah, we're not going to do anything that's going to benefit Allah. Our sincerity will actually help us, won't it? Our sincerity, which means we are sincere deep in here. We're true. We're not munafiqs. We're not pretending with Allah. And who's going to gain anything by pretending with Allah? And Allah who knows, وَهُوَ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ, He knows the inner secrets of our hearts. So what kind of pretense can we play with God? So sincerity to Allah, of course, in the end is to benefit us. And therefore, ad-dinun nasiha, the first thing to start with is Allah. Prophet ﷺ saying sincerity to Allah. What is sincerity to Allah? Is to sincerely believe in Him first, isn't it? The munafiq who doesn't sincerely believe in Allah can be outwardly with tongue and limbs doing good works to show people. To show people. Will it benefit them? No, it will not. Will it benefit them before Allah? No, because they rejected God. They rejected God. That's the first. And so sincerity to Allah is the foundation, as we know anyway. You take Allah to the equation, you can go blue in the face doing good deeds, but who are you doing them for? What purpose are you doing them for? You don't believe in a hereafter if you've cancelled Allah. You don't believe in paradise and hell, and you don't believe in hisab, an account taken. You're doing it to feel good, or you're doing it so that people can say how wonderful this person is, or for, like they say, for a good turn, you want something in return as well as a favor. That's how people do it for, isn't it? Actually, most people do good to others for those reasons, rather than sincerely, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's what He wants from us. So, sincerity begins with sincerity to Allah, to believe in Him. To believe in Him absolutely. Believing in Him means that you believe Allah is truth, that the hisab is truth, Yawm al-Akhir is truth, that paradise is truth, and hellfire is true. That's where we're going to end up. Life after death is true. All that. That is all inherent in believing in Allah, is it not, brothers and sisters, in the end? It is. So, that part of sincerity is the belief, but sincerity to Allah is then sincerity, because when you have sincerity, if you apply it in life actually, and it doesn't fully apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As somebody said, some of the wise people of the past said that sincerity you can compare that if a king has a slave or citizen, two kinds. One slave is of the king, or servant you can say. Whatever the king tells him, he happily goes about doing. He doesn't disobey the king, and does everything. And the other one disobeys the king all the time, is rude in return, is not sincere. Is there a difference? Are they both the same? They're not both the same. Another wise person, and said this, so this is the case with Allah and His slave. Another wise person said, sincerity can be reflected in two ways. And the best way it's reflected is when the servant loves the king and out of love does things, compared to the servant who does it out of fear of the king. So the wise person from the pious predecessors said that the higher position is the one who's doing it out of love. Because the one doing it out of love will do it whether the master or the king is present and seeing what the person is doing, and also he or she will do good deeds out of sincerity when the master or king is absent and can't see what they're doing. That's where the test really comes, isn't it? Whereas the one out of fear perhaps will do it while the king is watching, because that's where the fear is, and when the king is absent and not watching, the fear disappears, so they do something else. Okay? So that's the sort of comparison that is mentioned by, for example, Ibn Rajab about quoting somebody who said that. Actually, I don't think that really applies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because whereas the king can be absent, ghaib, missing, and he doesn't see, you can't apply that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He's never absent. Yeah. So actually doing things out of fear of Allah is not such a bad thing. It doesn't remove sincerity. Yeah. That's what taqwa is, in fact, isn't it? Yeah. But sincerity is a mixture of taqwa, a fear and love. A fear and hope, isn't it? خوفا وطمعا. يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا. They call unto their Lord out of fear and hope. So we have an element of both with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this fear and khawf isn't in a worldly sense, because it's not the kind of fear that you think, oh well, Allah's not watching now, I'll do whatever I want. Because when are you going to think that? Never. Never. But you have to have a fear of ending in hellfire. Yeah. So fear and hope is the idea. So sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala involves belief, following that which He has made wajib and fard upon us. Yeah, fard to do and fard to stay away from. Obligatory to do and obligatory stay away from. Sincerity to Allah, is it not? That we fulfill that? What do you think? And if we didn't do that, we're not being sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we fail to do that, doesn't mean we're not sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a difference. We can be sincere, but we fall short of the mark. Is that possible? Does that question our sincerity? It doesn't actually. And that's the beauty, isn't it? And I said to you last time that the Prophet ﷺ saying, وَمَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Yeah. Whatever I order you to do, He's ordering from Allah, then do of it as much as you can. So do we fall short? Always fall short, as I said last time. And we falling short doesn't mean to say we're not sincere, by the way. Sincere doesn't mean we become so holy that we're doing everything and we can tick ourselves as 100%. Nonsense. Nonsense. Yeah, so we can fall short and still be sincere, as we'll see in a minute. Yeah, we can fall short and be sincere. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah At-Tawbah, for the Sahaba, this verse came when, remember those who did Fiqh Sirah, when the expedition to Tabuk came. Yeah. And it was a very, very difficult expedition, a long journey in the heat of the summer. Yeah. And some You know the story of some Sahaba who had no excuse and didn't go, handful of them, and they were dealt with social boycott, etc. Went through a very difficult time. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Tawbah about other Sahaba who couldn't make the trip. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. Surah Tawbah, verse 91, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَيْسَ عَلَى الضُّعَفَاءِ وَلَا عَلَى الْمَرْضَى وَلَا عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ مَا يُنْفِقُونَ حَرَجٌ وَلَا عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ مَا يُنْفِقُونَ حرج إذا نصحوا لله ورسوله ما على المحسنين من سبيل والله غفور رحيم. There is no duress or no problem, haraj, no issue. With who? Those who are weak and can't make the journey. In other words, that sincerity is still there. We'll see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He uses the word nasaha here again, nasiha, nasaha, idha nasahu. Not on the weak, the infirm, the ill, yeah, they got paralysis, they're blind, they're walking on, one leg's not working, etc., etc., etc. Any kinds, they all come under du'afa. Not on those who are, well, actually, du'afa are separate because marda is mentioned separately. The ill is mentioned separately. Du'afa, those who are weak for other reasons. Not on those who are ill, and not on those who don't find anything that they can spend and give as charity to help in the expedition either. Yeah? Because the Prophet ﷺ was gathering, remember, donations. And this expedition, some Sahaba came with a handful of dates. And the Munafiqs were making mockery of it. Yeah. So here Allah SWT mentions those who couldn't find anything that they can even spend. They were so poor. So Allah's saying there's no haraj, there's no issue, don't worry. Because these people, they felt really guilty. They couldn't do anything. Either weakness or illness, or they didn't have any means of even giving a few days. And they felt guilty. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا نَصَحُوا لِلَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. The same as the Hadith. If they are sincere to Allah and to His Messenger. As long as they are sincere to Allah and His Messenger. And these were sincere. That's who He's talking about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sincere ones. Not those who are looking for loopholes and excuses when they are not ill, they weren't weak, and they had lots of money and wealth, but they were looking for loopholes and making out of lies excuses before the Messenger. And they were there as well in Medina. They're not in this ayah because إِذَا نَصَحُوا لِلَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Yeah. As long as they are sincere to Allah and His Messenger, مَا عَلَى الْمُحْسِنِينَ سَبِيلٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls them muhsineen, the doers of good. From ihsan, which I mentioned, is ad-deen, from the earlier hadith, which talked about Iman, the Jibril hadith, Iman, Islam, and ihsan. Here, muhsineen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes them. Ma ala al-muhsinina min sabil. There's no blame on these muhsineen, these righteous people. Subhanallah. Calling them righteous, yet they can't do anything. Because they were sincere. So contrast that with what I said earlier. Yeah? Not sincere, doing lots of things. They will not be muhsineen before Allah. We won't know that though. We don't know that though. That's between them and God. Yeah. But for sure, if that's the situation, they are not muhsineen before Allah. They will not be rewarded because they're not sincere to Allah. They're not sincere to Allah. Yeah? So contrast that with this, not able to do anything. Yeah? but sincere inside, and they feel guilty inside actually. So here we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning about nasiha, sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah for those who were not able to do anything in regards to the expedition to Tabuk, which could apply in a general sense as well. Yeah, in the general sense. So when we're talking about fulfilling all that Allah has ordained and ordered, then to the best of our ability. Yeah, to the best of our ability. And at times, as I said earlier, we will not be able to fulfill either out of illness, either out of weakness, or other reasons as well. Yeah, as being poor, etc. Yeah, not able to give sadaqah. Yeah, out of illness, look what happens in regards to fasting, and look what happens in regards to salah. Yeah, you can't stand up, sit down. You can't sit down, lie down. Subhanallah. All are rukhas. And the Prophet ﷺ said, which a hadith I mentioned before, that the one in that situation, out of illness or weakness, yeah, who is either not able to perform the good act that they normally do, or that they normally pray standing up and they're having to do it sitting down and lying down, are rewarded as though they had done it standing up, or as though they were doing the good acts when they were well. Subhanallah. Allah is so merciful. Because as long as the key is إِذَا نَصَحُوا لِلَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, as long as they're sincere. Sincerity. And hence you see why this hadith is so important. Because in all those areas of our lives, it's having an effect, this hadith. Yeah? So sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala includes all those things, staying away from the haram. Sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that even in the voluntary deeds, yeah, the person, the ibad, the slave of Allah, are striving and they give priority to Allah rather than themselves. That is sincerity, isn't it? Yeah. Sincerity. If you look at it in worldly terms, not including loving Allah, isn't it? It's all linked with loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's out of love. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي. As the Quran says, say, if you love Allah, out of the mouth of the Prophet, the Quran is saying, فَاتَّبِعُونِ, then follow me. Then follow me. فَاتَّبِعُونِ يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah will love you and forgive you your sins. For surely Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا يحبونهم كحب الله والذين آمنوا أشد حبا لله. Amongst human beings are those who take others besides God, others, rivals to God, and love them as they should love Allah. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, but those who believe, yeah, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ, are even stronger in their love for Allah. That is sincerity at work for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? Yeah, contrast those who have taken others, yeah, whether it's their desires, whether it's their culture, whether it's other people, yeah, whether it's in contrast, and they've thrown God to one side, yeah, and whether it's idols, yeah, all those things, and they love those, and in the end, the believers are those who love Allah even stronger than that. And that is the spirit of Islam, isn't it, brothers? Really, it is. But it has to be exemplified, because if you look at the world and a society around us, and we know very well that actually, and the posters will tell you, that soccer, football is a religion. Yeah, religion is sports. And the stars, the way society look, I'm not saying don't watch soccer and you can't have fun. No. It's the idea of then when it any sport, if it's cricket, it doesn't have to be soccer, anything that becomes the be-all and end-all, and your life depends and revolves only around that with an obsession, and that you love the stars, or you love the pop stars, or the actor, and you are obsessed with them. And don't tell me there aren't people who live their life like that. Many do, actually. Is that not so? And God is nowhere in the equation. So this is not a theoretical thing Quran is saying. It is reality that they have taken others beside and loved that. Yeah, and believers are not supposed to behave like that. Belief, a sign of belief doesn't mean to say believers don't watch sports. Does it? Nobody's saying that. That's not the message. But their love for Allah is at the pinnacle compared to a sport which is trivial for them. They watch, but they're not so obsessed that they put Allah to one side and that becomes their religion. Yeah, and there's a warning. And that applies to actually any kind of entertainment, and whether it's playing on the PS4 or whatever the latest is, or whatever else people are obsessed with doing, or spending time just on social media day and night and day and night. Are people not obsessed with social media? Of course they are. Addicted to it? Of course they are. So that becomes like a religion actually in the end. If one is not giving any attention to God and what He's told you to do with life, and life is much more. Life is not for play. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ لَاعِبِينَ. And we have not created the heavens and the earth just for play and for fun, out of play and fun. He hasn't created it just for the sake. Didn't make us and all this. It's a serious endeavor. It has a purpose and a reason. It is not just senseless randomness and useless so that you can behave randomly as well. Yeah, like monkeys and chimps. Even they don't have randomness. They have a very clear objective, the monkeys and chimps and all animals, which is to reproduce and to get food. That's what they deal with day in, day out. In fact, it's interesting, it's only the human beings who have play in the form of tittle-tattle and waste time. Because the animal play, even the atheists will say, the animal play is an objective. Yeah? The lion cubs are learning how to pounce when they're playing. Yeah? The monkeys and chimps are playing, that's our term. We're using that. They're not saying we're playing. That's another interesting point. We're saying they're playing. But that play is not the same as our play. There's a big difference, hence the difference between human and animal here. Anyway, so Allah is saying to the human beings, because He knows that we have this idea of play and wasting time, that I didn't create this heavens and the earth for you just to come and have play and fun, whether in your PS4 or whether watching matches or playing them day in, day out, make that your life. Life is much more serious than that. Much more, and is an objective, and that we're all on. So, sincerity to Allah. Sincerity to Allah, where it all begins. Then, the Prophet ﷺ says, Wali kitabi, sincerity to his book. Kitabi here means the book, means the Quran here. Messenger of Allah speaking. It doesn't say belief in the books here. It's saying sincerity to his book. And the book, which is the most recent book with the last messenger, is what? It's the Quran. You can't take from the Hadith here sincerity to the Bible and sincerity to Zabur and Psalms, etc. No, saying likitabi in the singular Quran. And what is sincerity to the Quran? Once you believe in Allah, you know that this is the book of Allah. In fact, you know what? All of this, sincerity to Messenger, Allah, and the rest of it to the advice, all of it goes back to the book actually. Because once we accept the book is from Allah, the book is telling us about Allah. Without the book, we don't even know about Allah except an idea in our fitrah, in our nature. Yeah? All the rest of what we're talking about, what references did I give you before? Linked with the Hadith, back to the book of Allah. that Allah is saying about what is nasiha in regards to tawbah, in regards to the prophets. We keep referring back to the book. Sincerity to the book is to believe this is kalamullah, the word of Allah, and that there is nothing like it. No human being can produce anything like it. Have never done, will never do, because that's what Allah says in the Quran. Is that what we believe? Yes. That is part of the sincerity. That it is a miracle. That it has been protected, and it is the same as what was revealed through Jibreel to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What we have in the Mus'haf today, and what we recite the Muslims from over 1400 years ago till this day. It is being protected. It is literally the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as they were sent down. Yeah, they have been safeguarded in the hearts of the believers, or those who have done hifz, yeah, learnt it off by heart, and it has been protected in the written format. And we have manuscripts dating right back to around the time of Uthman ibn Affan. The latest one was found in Birmingham a few years ago, as you know. And if you look at it, part of it, Surah Al-Kahf, and compare it to manuscript we have today, there's no difference. There's no difference. Subhanallah. There's no difference. It's the same. Which other book is like that? There isn't any. Yeah. So protected. So sincerity to the book is to know that, to believe that, to read the book, to recite the book as we are told to, yeah, to understand the book, and to implement the book. Otherwise, we're not sincere to the book. Are we? To have it and to ignore it is not sincere. To wrap it up and put it on the top shelf and take it out, to read fast when somebody's died in the family, yeah? For Isali Sawab, as they say, we're sending the Thawab, as though the dead need the book. Yeah? Many people do that, don't they? You tell me. Do they take it out the rest of the year? No, they don't actually. So we made it that the dead need the Quran and we don't need it. And we recite it to send the reward, and we're not understanding what we're reciting. The book is sent for the living, not for the dead. So sincerity to the book is actually to do that with it. Lack of sincerity is to do that with it. Sincerity is not to do that with it, sorry. Sincerity to the book is to try and understand it. If you don't know Arabic, to look at the translation of the language that you understand. Yeah? To understand it, because most of it is not about legal ruling, but a reminder, is a tadhkirah about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about what happened before to peoples, and what is coming as a consequence of what you do. That's what the Quran is full of, as a reminder to us. Zikr. It's a reminder for those who forget of what this life is about and where we are. So sincerity is to do that. Sincerity is to the book is to take heed from what the book is saying, as the Sahaba did. Isn't it? So when Prophet ﷺ says, Wali kitabi, listen, it's a tiny little word. He says, Wali kitabi. Look at the implications of the meaning of it. Of him saying, Ad-Dinun Nasiha and Li kitabi. And look at the meaning. Which is what we need to take on board. That if we are sincere, which is what's expected, that's what deen is, the Prophet ﷺ saying. Yeah, its very pillar is this sincerity. Are we being sincere to the treasure and gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to Ummah, to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as the greatest of his miracles, which remains with us till it is raised up before Yawm al-Qiyamah. That is the greatest of miracles, because it's an ongoing miracle. Yeah? Are we being true to it? That's what you say in English. Yeah? Are we true to the Quran? Means, are we sincere to it? And being true to the Quran is what I've said just now, is strive to make it part of our life. It's a program, it's guidance for humanity. Yeah. So that we take it on board, we try and understand it, and we try and implement it. If you go down the grades, one is to ignore it, not being sincere. Another is to actually read it and then ignore it. That's being even more insincere, isn't it? Then make no effort to try and understand it. It becomes more of a burden against us. As the Prophet ﷺ said in a long hadith, part of it which was, وَالْقُرْآنُ حُجَّةٌ لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. And the Quran will be an evidence for you, يعني يوم القيامة, or against you. Against you. Because you went against the Quran, then it's an evidence against you. You ignored it, evidence against. It will not do that to those who are sincere to the book. So here, sincerity to the book has all those implications and more. And then we have one of the learned people said, as Ibn Rajab mentions, that if somebody that you are sincere and love so much dearly in the world sends you a letter, how do people treat that letter from their loved one? Right? Do they take the letter and just put it to one side and take it out when somebody dies and just read it like a parrot? How do people treat letters from their loved one? They keep opening it, they smell it, they read it again and again, and they're understanding it, aren't they, when they're reading it? Make every effort to understand every word. Yeah, keep deciphering the sentence. What is he trying to say? What is she saying to me? That's sincerity. Yeah. So this is Allah's kalam. If we're sincere to Allah and He sent His book, He sent His message to us. And how do we treat it? Yeah, interesting. That's one of the pious people from the past mentioned that. And then Wali Rasuli. The Prophet ﷺ saying himself is sincerity to the messenger. Sincerity to the messenger is again first to believe in him. Believe in him as the messenger of God, and to follow him, to follow his sunnah, to take his advice and his counsel, as he's giving advice in this hadith, isn't he? That's part. This hadith is his advice. It's his qawl. Yeah. So sincerity to the messenger is to accept whatever he says, to leave whatever he advises us, to leave, to worry about what he was worried for us about. He was worried for us about dunya and that we'll get carried away with its material and chase after it. That's what he was worried about, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we should take that advice on board. Yeah? And to give ithar or preference to the hereafter, which is everlasting. Yeah? In line with the Quran, that's what the Messenger of Allah, he was worried for us. Wanted to save those he came for. The whole of the world that he was sent for. So, sincerity to the Messenger involves all of that. Sincerity to the Messenger of Allah involves loving the Messenger of Allah, doesn't it? لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. None of you truly believes. Yeah? None of you truly believes until I am more loving to them than their parents and their children and all of humanity. Yeah. So that we get upset when somebody insults the Messenger and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, don't we? That is part of the sincerity. But if we behave in a manner in getting upset, which contrary to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us, yeah, then we are behaving like ignorant people. Because part of it is that we get upset, yes, if somebody draws some cartoon insulting, but how we respond to it is to respond by how he showed us in his character, because he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِيُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, I've only been sent to make good, perfect the morals and conduct of people. And he showed us how to be patient, how to be in the face of insult to return with good, isn't he? To pass the message. So how we respond in our sincerity, we can respond ignorantly. It doesn't take our sincerity away, by the way. We don't become insincere because we've responded in a bad way. The sincerity for love of the messenger, we don't question that from the people. We just say it's ignorant behavior. Follow the way, if you are sincere to the messenger, follow his way. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because that's what he was sent for. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Indeed, you will find for you in the Messenger of Allah uswatun, the most beautiful model, role model. So part of sincerity is to take him as that role model and make efforts to endeavor to take his example on how we behave in situations in our life. And that is his sunnah. That is actually his sunnah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And a part of that is to know about him, isn't it? How can we be sincere to the Messenger of Allah if we just about know La ilaha illa Muhammad Rasulullah? We made no effort to learn about his life. We made no effort to even listen to a hadith. I'm surprised at Muslims that when you say, fine, they're not supposed to be scholars, but if somebody knows nothing about the Messenger of Allah, actually, majority of Muslims know very little about the Messenger of Allah. That's sad. Well, what kind of sincerity is that? We made no effort. And part of it is making that effort. And that is part of the sincerity, is to strive. As we have this class, what is it about? It's about a hadith. And what hadith linked with? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When we had fiqh seerah before that, seerah was the biography of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, and you see in the end, we're not here to judge the community or people, because now we have in social media, people often learn from social media and things. Maybe they're listening to talks left, right and center and learning from that. But this is an opportunity. But actually, it's still a poor reflection. I'm not saying they should come to my session on that, because there's others who can do it better than me, but a reflection of dunya taking over us is how many people have come out of the whole vast community we have here to these classes. I'm afraid it is a reflection, and I say it in the Jummah khutbahs as well. And it's not to point the finger at any particular individual. We don't do that. But it's something that each individual needs to reflect for themselves. Have I got time? Can I make time? Am I learning from others? Which is fine, alhamdulillah. Or am I making no effort at all? It's for each individual to ask themselves. I can't ask it. I can just pose the question as I pose it to myself. So, sincerity to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, wali rasuli, wali a'immatil muslimin. And a'immatil muslimin means a'imma, imams or a'imma. That's the plural of imam. So here it means the leaders of the Muslims, to be sincere to them. That covers both political leaders and religious leaders, the ulama. A sincerity to them is, if you look at the political leaders, for example, the Prophet ﷺ said, for example, hadith in Muslim, reported by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يرضى لكم ثلاثا. Allah is pleased with you for with three things. يرضى لكم أن تعبدوا ولا تشركوا به شيئا. He's pleased with you that you worship, that you worship Him, and you don't associate any partners, anything with Him in that worship. Don't do any shirk. وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا Second thing, وَأَن تَعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. That you all, talking to the Muslims, these three advices the Prophet ﷺ giving, that you all hold together fast to the rope of Allah and do not become divided. Do not become divided. وَأَن تُنَاصِحُوا مَنْ وَاللَّهُ اللَّهُ أَمْرَكُمْ. And that you are sincere to those Allah has appointed as your leaders over you. Because in the end, reality is the asl or the foundation is that Islam doesn't produce a society of people going against and causing corruption in the land, even if there's some issues with the leader. But to give sincerity is, if you are able to give counsel, to give advice, either face to face or in writing. Yeah, I mean, we do it here. We write. Most of them get ignored here. Of course, we write to the MP and say such and such an issue. but actually, I couldn't be too critical. Most likely in Muslim countries, they're most likely to get ignored. At least you get a reply here most of the time. Is that right? You do actually. You may be talking nonsense or just gobbledygooch, not doing anything, but at least you get a response. But that's part of it actually. That's nasiha. Yeah? That's nasiha, giving counsel. Yeah, where you're able to. So sincerity also means not causing mayhem in the country where there's a government. Yeah, not becoming a traitor, not doing khiyana means being, because those are what's been appointed over you, because that can sometimes lead to even if there's problems, there has to be balance, and therefore ulama in siyasa and politics who've got the experience and knowledge are very careful. I mean, there are some examples that sometimes peaceful demonstration can work. Other example, when it involves violence and things, whether it's from the government side or the other side, you have to really look very carefully. And if you look at Syria's situation, it's an absolute shambolic mess. That's not to say, and I don't want to get into politics, that's not to say that the government had blame on it before. Nobody's saying that. Yeah? But what has it led to? What has it led to? And what was the alternative? And was there an alternative? Look at the situation after years and years of bloodshed and killing, etc. Yeah? So that these things are very, very complex. They're not black and white answers that somebody says, it's all right, he's a bad ruler. Right, come on, let's get out and take out our... No. I don't want to go into great detail of that, but here I'm talking about sincerity to those who are made in charge of your affairs by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this hadith is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, as I said. Part of nasiha, as ulama said past and present, to give in to the ruler and actually to anybody, is not to show somebody up if they're doing something wrong, because that's insulting them. That is not nasiha. Insulting people and making them, even if you're doing it in front of people and showing them up, is not nasiha. But to do it privately, yeah, keeping people's position in place as well, keeping people's position in mind as well. When the Prophet ﷺ sent his letter, if you remember the seerah, and it's in Hadith authentically, to Heraclius, he addressed him with respect. He didn't send him a letter saying, "Oh, you kuffar, you filthy leader, you are misguiding people. How dare you do this? If you don't come, hellfire is waiting for you." And even with the Jahili Quraysh in Mecca, how did he approach them? With respect. With respect. They were insulting and disrespectful to him, actually. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Keeping people's position in mind. Yeah. And in regards to that, in fact, you look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He says in the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Musa and Harun alayhim as-salam to Fir'aun, who was the most evil tyrant that ever ruled in the world. Is that true? According to the Quran, it is. It is. And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in giving nasiha to such a tyrant? And no other tyrant comes to his level of tyranny. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to them, فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, both of you, when you go, speak to him gently. Tyrant, go speak to him gently. Perhaps he will take the reminder and basically have some humility and submit. Perhaps he'll be affected. So to a tyrant like that, speak gently, kindly, respectfully. And what about others? Okay. And finally, to the general Muslims, to be sincere to them. That general Muslim, sincerity means from the rulers as well as giving advice. It includes them. So the Prophet ﷺ, for example, he said, Hadith in Bukhari, ما من عبد استرعاه الله رعية فلم يحطها بنصيحة إلا لم يجد رائحة الجنة. Or في رواية لم يدخل الجنة. There is no person, no slave that Allah gives him authority and charge, meaning puts them in power and authority, and that he doesn't discharge this duty sincerely, binasiha, except that he will not even smell the fragrance of paradise, never mind go into it. Warning to those in charge to be sincere to their citizens, and not to be insincere and take advantage of them. Otherwise, they'll be in this situation. They won't even smell the fragrance of paradise, never mind go into it, as reported in Bukhari. And also, so you can apply it generally, but there are many statements and advice and ahadith to do with Muslims in general and how they need to be with others. Sincerity on an individual level around. And part of that is, as we're running out fast of time, one of the hadith which is famous, which many people used to quote, perhaps some of you have heard of it, which is reported in Tabrani. Ibn Rajab also mentions it, but doesn't clarify whether it's authentic or not, is in which is mentioned that مَنْ لَمْ يَحْتَمْ بِأَمْرِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ فَلَيْسَ مِنْهُمْ. Whoever isn't concerned about the affairs of the Muslims, they are not from amongst them. Strong comment. This hadith is actually weak. It is not authentic. It is not, it's mentioned in Tabrani, but this hadith is. But we have others which are authentic. For example, reported by Nu'man ibn Bashir. Nu'man ibn Bashir is the one who reported the last hadith that we covered. From the Prophet ﷺ saying, Al-mu'min ka-rajulun wahid in ishtaka ra'sahu tada'a lahu sa'irul jasad. A similar is reported hadith in Bukhari Muslim, similar to this. Both these are authentic, and Bukhari and Muslim. ترى المؤمنين في تراحمهم وتوادهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد إذا اشتكى عضوا تداعى له سائر جسده بالسهر والهمة. Similar, it said تداعى له سائر الجسد بالهمة والسهر. The Prophet ﷺ is saying the believers are like one body. In the first version it said, if the head of that body it suffers from some complaint, suffers some suffering, the rest of the body responds with fever and sleeplessness. Rest of the body. In other words, that's also saying that the believers are like one body, that if there's bad going on in one part of the believers, the rest should feel that and respond. They all feel the hurt of it. That is sincerity to others, which is what the Hadith is talking about, sincerity to other Muslims. So inshallah we'll end there. There's other Hadith to do with that, but we don't have time to go into them. Barakallahu feekum. As you know, we have a break now inshallah from this, and the next lesson for this inshallah will be in January. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. السلام عليكم.